February 20th, 1967, in Grays Harbor Community Hospital on the border of Hoquiam and Aberdeen, Kurt Donald Cobain was born. His father, 21-year-old mechanic Don Cobain. His mother, teenage high school graduate Wendy Cobain. Kurt was remembered as a very happy, creative, and active child. He was very enthusiastic about music and drawing at a very early age, many of his aunts and uncles being musicians themselves. At a young age, he was diagnosed as hyperactive and claimed to have thrown 7-Up cans filled with pebbles at patrolling police cars as early as the age of 6. Cobain had a very happy childhood up until his parents started fighting and eventually divorced when he was 8 years old. Many see this as a turning point in Kurt Cobain's life, a once happy, beaming child, now cold and withdrawn. After the divorce, Kurt was shuffled between houses of family members, distant and close, refusing to eat dinner with his family and joining the wrestling team under his father's pressure, only to refuse to fight back tournament day, scoring a quick loss. In February, Cobain's freshman year, his Uncle Chuck gave Kurt the choice between a bicycle or guitar for his 14th birthday present. The guitar was cheap and second-hand, but Kurt cherished it nonetheless, quickly learning how to play and attempting to write his own songs as soon as he was capable. In late 1982, Kurt Cobain discovered punk rock in the form of the Melvins, a Montesano, Washington-based band led by the iconic Buzz Osborne. The Melvins were seen as a very large influence on Nirvana's music, one of the earliest Nirvana interviews jokingly stating that Nirvana was the name of the Melvins fan club. After his mother threw him out of her home years later, Kurt was forced to live wherever he could, even returning to Grays Harbor Community Hospital where he was born, sleeping in the waiting rooms, pretending he was a family member of an ill patient, and even ordering food from the hospital cafeteria using fake room numbers. After 4 months of living on the streets, Cobain returned to his father's home in Montesano. In the early summer of 1985, Kurt Cobain moved into an Aberdeen apartment with his friend Jesse Reed, where he started to write the songs that would become Nirvana songs in the future. After failing to start a band with local musicians, Kurt Cobain joins friend Chris Novoselic and drummer Aaron Burkhardt and start the band that would eventually be called Nirvana. A couple of months of shows and a few changes in drummers, Nirvana signed to the Seattle-based label Sub Pop. Sub Pop is known for signing many of the so-called grunge bands of the 90s, gave many of the starting grunge bands their break. In early 1988, Nirvana releases their first official record, a single containing the songs Love Buzz and Big Cheese. In June of 1998, Nirvana releases their first full-length studio album by the name of Bleach. Bleach contains heavy distorted songs like Downer, as well as softer pop songs like About a Girl. Bleach was recorded quickly and cheaply, only costing $600 to produce the entire record. Bleach as a whole is heavy and raw. This made the album be shunned by the mainstream, but highly acclaimed in the early underground Washington music scenes. With this album, music critics start to notice Kurt Cobain's talent in songwriting, shown in this quote by Everett True, a music journalist and author. Basically, this is the real thing. No rock star contrivance, no intellectual perspective, no master plan for world domination. You're talking about 4 guys from rural Washington who want to rock, who, if they weren't doing this, would be working in a supermarket or lumber yard or fixing cars. Kurt Cobain is a great tunesmith, although still a relatively young songwriter. He wields a riff with passion. After shuffling through many drummers over the months after the release and continuing to tour America and Europe, Nirvana was once again in need of a drummer. At the time, the iconic and powerful drummer Dave Grohl and his current band at the time, Scream, were stuck on the road, unable to make enough money to return home after their bass player quit. Grohl started looking for options. Buzz Osborne from the Melvins knew Dave was looking for a band to play in, and Nirvana was looking for a drummer and enjoyed his work in Scream. So he gave Dave the band's number, and Grohl flew to Washington State with nothing but his drum set and the clothes on his back. Nirvana, now consisting of Kurt Cobain, Dave Grohl, and Chris Novoselic, signs with the major label Geffen Records, a small underground band from Aberdeen, making a break by the power of their live performances. And by late summer, Kurt Cobain began dating Courtney Love of the rock band Hole. On September 10th, the band releases their single, Smells Like Teen Spirit, the full-length studio album Nevermind being released 2 weeks later. The song is an unexpected hit, and quickly the single spreads to radio stations and television. By January of the following year, the album is #1 on the music charts. This song brings the limelight of the music industry to the diverse and rich music scene that was isolated in Seattle, even though Nirvana was not explicitly connected to the scene. Soon, everyone was hearing about the grunge music scene in Seattle. Bands in Seattle and across the country who were struggling got chances they never before dreamed of, the labels looking for bands who fit this newly discovered genre. Meanwhile, Nirvana gained in popularity and earned a performance on Saturday Night Live. After playing a powerful show and trashing the stage and their instruments, much to the dislike of the television executives. Bitter against the homophobic country folk back at their hometown of Aberdeen, Kurt and Chris mock homophobia on live TV to help spread the word against homophobia, and to mock the corporate TV company wanting them to play only their biggest hits, then promptly leave. Kurt's drug use worsened as the stress from touring and interviews made his undiagnosed stomach condition worse, and he turned more and more to drugs to help him function. A temporary light shines in his life as he marries Courtney Love on Waikiki Beach, Hawaii, on February the 24th, and months later, as his daughter Frances Bean Cobain is born on August 18th. After Cobain's daughter is born, his life changes in a new direction, Kurt finding happiness in a dark and busy world. An interviewer from Vanity Fair magazine interviewed Courtney Love in the couple's Seattle home. Courtney Love admitted to taking heroin while she was pregnant, but stopped using as soon as she heard the news she was going to have a baby. Vanity Fair left out that detail and wrote an article making Kurt and Courtney seem like horrible parents who willingly took drugs while Courtney was pregnant. The baby turned out fine, as Courtney only took heroin in the early stages of pregnancy, but the authorities took custody away from the couple nonetheless. It took months for the couple to be allowed full custody of their perfectly healthy baby daughter, and this media circus scarred and antagonized them both. Following this hectic turn of events, the band becomes even more popular and bogged down by touring. And on September 25th, they perform again on Saturday Night Live, months after the first incident. This is the first time a band has ever played the show twice. On November the 18th, the band performs on MTV's Unplugged in New York, which is hailed as the single best Nirvana performance ever recorded, stripping down Cobain's musical stylings and exposing his vast musical taste. Months later, deep in a tour in Germany, Kurt is diagnosed with bronchitis and laryngitis, and is rushed to a hospital in Rome a few days later for an overdose of alcohol and the prescription drug Rohypnol. On March 25th of '94, Love organizes a drug intervention for Cobain with his friends and bandmates. He enrolls in the Exodus Recovery Center in Los Angeles and leaves the next day by escaping over a wall of the facility. Many days are spent looking for Cobain, as he is said to have gone missing, no one knowing where he's gone, and friends and band members alike worried about his integrity. On April 8th, Kurt Cobain's body is found by an electrician looking through the couple's home near Veretta Park in Seattle. He was thought to have died on April 5th due to an apparently self-inflicted shotgun wound to the head, although deep speculation is still going on about the cause of his death. Cobain's death is a morbid blow against friends, family, and fans of the man and the group, and despite his untimely demise, Kurt's influence still spread far today. His views on racism, homophobia, and sexism changes the opinions of many people, and the power and influence of the music affecting hundreds of bands following in their footsteps. He defined a culture, changed the opinion of millions, and affected countless people in a short, eventful life.